to start? What's the question?
What is art of hosting?
What is the art of... Do you want me to look in the camera?
Yes.
The art of hosting is a set of practices for leadership that helps us to create conversations between people that bring more life and innovation to the problems that we face. We have a tendency in this world to want to control our outcomes, to want to know what the answer is, to want to address problems by solving them right away. And so many of the problems that we're plagued with in our society and on our planet don't have easy solutions. We need to be able to bring together groups of people from lots of different walks of life, with lots of different lived experience and stories, to be able to make sense of the situation they're in and to work together to grow the solutions to the problems that we're facing now. And the art of hosting is a set of practices for how we bring people together and convene them in that way. And we honor differences, we honor expertise from all around the system, and we honor the ability of anybody to make a contribution to the solutions that we're working for tomorrow. The art of hosting is a form of leadership, not just facilitation. It's a form of participatory leadership that recognizes that the leader isn't the one with the answers, but the leader is the one with the ability to call and convene the conversations that matter. And the best participatory leaders are able to bring people together to make sense of their situation, to harvest and then to act together. And in so doing, create a community that will stay together when the going gets tough. In the art of hosting, we use dialogue methods to address the massive issues of complexity in our communities and organizations. And the reason for this is because the methods of management and control that we've been using for decades are starting to fail us. Our planet can't be controlled anymore. Our communities can't be controlled anymore. We're living with higher and higher levels of despair, higher and higher levels of meaninglessness in our work. And the art of hosting creates conversations that not only take on the hard problems, but build community while we're doing it. If we can't work together and stay together, then we can't address the problems that we face in our companies, in our communities, and in our planet. That's what the art of hosting is. It's an invitation to practice consciously conversations that lead us to new pathways, that lead us to new forms of organization and community, and that give us new hope for our future.
What have you discovered in Japan for these 3 days?
It's my first time in Japan. I've been here for 3 days. And what I've learned here is the capacities and capabilities of human beings are vast. I've worked all over the world, in Southern Africa, in Europe, and across North America, in lots of different cultures. And coming to Japan just increases my belief that when humans with massively different ways of seeing the world come together, we have a better chance at finding the creativity we need to address human problems. My experience so far of Japan is that people are very considerate about taking ideas and thinking about how to apply them, about trying to understand the quality of a space, trying to understand and work with the quality of human relationships. And that's not something that you find a lot in North America, where I work. We almost give a second thought to the quality of our environment and the quality of our space, and we have very few words that talk about the quality of human relationships. And what I'm learning being here in Japan is that those things are very important. It's very important to understand the dynamics of how a group works and to pay attention to the qualities of relationships between people in order that we can take best advantage of the group's ability to solve problems together. I think. I've only been here 3 days. I'm a baby.
Are you going to ask me something?
What is art of hosting?
What is that? And should I say who I am? Okay. So my name is Catelin Frost. I'm an art of hosting practitioner from Canada. I live on Bowen Island. And what is the art of hosting? Many people know the art of hosting as a training, but the art of hosting is actually something much more than a training. It's a practice, it's a way of working, it's a way of living, and it's a way of being in community together. In the art of hosting, we recognize that the challenges that we're facing as human beings at this time, at the global level, but also at our human level, really need a practice of dialogue and human connection to find the solutions to the challenges we're facing, to build the relationships that we need to live a good life together. And so in the art of hosting, we have our own personal practice. We have a way of hosting ourselves, we call it, where we work with being more present, being able to stay in difficult conversations together, being able to hear each other with curiosity instead of judgment, and being able to open our mind to think creatively together with others as we try to engage with these challenges. We also talk about, in the art of hosting, how do we participate in conversation? Often the attention is on leading, and in this case, the conversations that we need to be in, we don't only need to be leaders of those conversations, but we need to be participants. No one person is always the leader. And so we learn to listen deeply with curiosity, to really open ourselves to hear from a diversity of other perspectives and people. We learn to speak with intention, to be able to focus what we say in service of the purpose of a meaningful conversation together. And we have an awareness when we participate of how do we hold a space together so that all voices can be heard. If we tend to be a quiet person, how can we bring our voice forward? If we tend to be a person who's used to being the one that talks all the time, how do we make space for others to be a participant in good conversation? And then we also, as part of the fourfold practice, we invite people to find their own leadership to host conversation. What are the meaningful or important conversations in your life or in your work that you want to bring some leadership to? For some people, that's their job. We have a lot of people in the art of hosting who are come because they're facilitators of dialogue and communication and collaborative process. But we invite everybody to come forward with, even if it means hosting a challenging or meaningful conversation at your dinner table, at the water cooler at work, with someone on the bus. How can we speak to each other in a deeper way, both about what challenges us, but also what brings us joy and what we care about? And then in the art of hosting, we also talk about co-creating. It's not just about conversation, but how do we have the conversation that we're having together lead to meaningful work and creating solutions and building our communities and our worlds together. And so we work a lot with collaborative process that helps bring a diversity of ideas to what we're building and growing, not the kind of leadership where it's only one person's idea. So those four pieces together form the basis of the practice of the art of hosting. We call it the fourfold practice. And it is a lifelong practice. Nobody is ever an expert in the art of hosting. We're inviting people into a community of learning that really goes on for our whole life. And we always invite people to come in with some beginner's mind, with the value that everyone in the circle has something to offer and something to learn. Would you like me to say anything else?
Can you say what you have discovered for these 3 days in working together in Japan?
Sure. Great. So I've been in Japan for 3 days now, working with the Art of Hosting community of practice here. I've had the opportunity to meet passionate, curious, generous group of people trying to work together to bring dialogue and collaboration and the value of everyone's voice into their work in all kinds of areas of Japan. Some people working in their communities, some people wanting to bring these practices to their companies or to the corporate space. And I would say one of the things that I've really learned is that we have some interesting cultural differences that help me to have a new view on my own practices. So I've been asked some really interesting questions that have me thinking about the kind of language that we choose to help me be more refined in my thinking. But I've also learned that we have some very deep things in common, that we share the wanting to have meaningful connection as human beings, that we share the value of a powerful question that helps us think and learn together, and that the value of wanting to build a society that values all the humans and that creates something sustainable for us all to live into, whatever our gifts are, that I found that we share this place in a very strong, clear way. And I think that's why the art of hosting practice, while it may have differences in each of the countries how we express it, the ground that we're working on and building with the art of hosting is a very strong and beautiful shared place with our colleagues in Japan.